Nigeria is fighting to end a bloody campaign by armed group Boko Haram. President Muhammadu Buhari has promised to defeat the militants, but they remain active in the states of Borno and Yobe. Thousands of people have been killed in the conflict and many more driven out of their homes. But the plight of older people in light of this insurgency has rarely been addressed. In a new report, Amnesty International accuses the Nigerian army and the militants of committing various atrocities against older people. Joining us now to talk more about this report is Joanne Miller. She's the Director of Crisis Response at Amnesty International. Joanne, thank you very much for joining us. How would you describe the quality of life for the elderly in displacement camps in northeastern Nigeria?
We interviewed quite a number, over 100, in fact, older people who are living in displaced persons camp in northeast Nigeria. And they uniformly told us that their situation was extremely challenging. They have a hard time accessing sufficient food supplies, other basic needs. You know, a lot of them, of course, have limited mobility, so going out and collecting firewood is a challenge. So overwhelmingly, they told us that their situation is very hard.
John, your report states that older people, children, women, and people with disabilities have been the victims of atrocities by both the Boko Haram militants and the Nigerian army. And you said that there's been no accountability for these atrocities?
We documented some serious atrocities, including obviously killings, torture of older people being forced to watch their children killed in front of them, all that at the hands of Boko Haram. And then by the military, often they've been subject to indiscriminate shooting. They've been burned alive in their houses when the military, tries to retake a village and sets the village on fire. Often older people have a very hard time fleeing as younger people can do. So they faced a range of atrocities at the hands of both parties to the conflict. And of course, there's been no accountability for these atrocities. There have been no trials of the military responsible for these kinds of crimes. And in fact, the crimes continue.
Joan, are Nigerian authorities and humanitarian agencies sufficiently committed to the inclusion of older people in their response programs?
In general, we found that older people felt like their needs were not being taken into account. And this was, I think, very directly because they felt like they were being ignored in the phase of kind of surveying people for their needs. So, as a result, a lot of them were unable to access humanitarian aid equally.
Joan, the conflict in northeastern Nigeria has gone on for a long time. There have been so many interventions, both military and humanitarian in nature. What is your appeal to the Nigerian authorities today?
Their actions need to be consistent with international humanitarian law, so they can't just invade villages and shoot people indiscriminately, set people's houses on fire indiscriminately. They need to go after combatants and not civilians. Then when they take over villages, they need to have due process in their treatment of the people who live there. So, we just documented many, many cases of older people being sent off to really hellish military detention camps without any kind of due process, then being held for, years at a time in abusive conditions, and finally released without any kind of reparations or apology.
Thank you very much for talking to us, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.